A number of years ago, I began noticing something in psychotherapy. Clients would tell me about a mistake they had made, a relationship that had ended, a setback at work, or something they deeply regretted. But after a few minutes, they were no longer talking about what had happened. They were talking about who they believed they were. Somehow, I made a mistake had quietly become, I'm a failure. I wasn't chosen became, I'm not good enough. I succeeded became, now I'm worthwhile. That observation made me wonder whether many of us have been evaluating the wrong thing. Have you ever caught yourself saying, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, or on a good day, I'm a success? Most of us have. But what if our greatest mistake isn't that we occasionally fail? What if it's that we confuse the evaluation of our behavior with the evaluation of ourselves? Over the years, I've worked with people struggling with depression, anxiety, trauma, addiction, relationship difficulties, and grief. Although their stories are very different, many share this common pattern. They don't simply evaluate what they did, they evaluate who they are. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes some sense. Our ancestors depended on relationships, belonging, and social acceptance for survival. Our brains became remarkably sensitive to signs of approval, rejection, success, and failure. That sensitivity helped us survive. But in modern life, it can also lead us to confuse momentary experiences with our identity. What if there is another way? What if we stopped asking, what is my worth? And instead asked, how am I doing within the important roles I value? That question changes everything. Instead of globally rating ourselves, we can evaluate how we're doing as a spouse, parent, teacher, student, or neighbor. Within each role, we can ask whether our behavior is moving us toward goals informed by our deepest values. Those evaluations can help us learn, grow, apologize, repair relationships, and improve, but they never require us to conclude that we are, as human beings, successes or failures. In the next few minutes, I'd like to show you a simple diagram that has helped many people make this shift from evaluating the self to evaluating our progress within valued roles. For many clients, that one shift opens the door to greater resilience, healthier relationships, and a deeper sense of peace.
Let's take a look at this simple diagram. In the center is the word self. Notice that nothing points toward evaluating the self itself. Around the self are a number of lines. Each line represents one of the many roles we occupy throughout our lives. Perhaps you're a spouse, partner, parent, therapist, teacher, friend, student, neighbor, son, daughter, or colleague. Some roles are central in our lives, others are less central. That's why some of the lines are closer to the self than others. Now notice that each role has a goal, not just any goal, but a goal informed by one or more values. As a parent, my goal might be to help my child become increasingly independent while knowing they are deeply loved. As a therapist, my goal may be to help clients move toward lives that are more meaningful, flexible, and connected. As a friend, my goal may be to become someone who is trustworthy, compassionate, and present. Those goals arise from values. Now, something important happens. Instead of asking, what kind of person am I? We ask a different question. How am I doing within this role in moving toward this valued goal? That question allows us to evaluate our behavior without evaluating our worth. The goal isn't to become a better person. The goal is to become a better spouse, a better parent, a better therapist, a better friend, while recognizing that your worth as a human being was never hanging in the balance. Perhaps I wasn't very patient today as a parent. Perhaps I missed an opportunity to listen carefully to a client. Perhaps I forgot a friend's birthday. Those are behaviors I can evaluate honestly. I can learn from them, apologize, repair, grow. But none of those observations requires me to conclude that I am a failure, a success, a good person, or a bad person. The self remains more than any single role, more than any success, more than any mistake, more than any chapter of life. As we evaluate our progress within valued roles, we become freer to learn because our mistakes no longer threaten our humanity. We become more open to feedback because we no longer have to defend our worth. And we often become more compassionate toward ourselves and toward others because we recognize that everyone is learning to live out their values imperfectly. This simple shift from evaluating the self to evaluating our progress within valued roles has helped many people move away from shame and toward growth, from self-condemnation toward responsibility, and from defending themselves toward participating more fully in the relationships that matter most.
Now that we've looked at the diagram, I'd like to step back and ask a simple question. Why does this matter? It matters because when we globally evaluate ourselves, our mistakes become threats to our identity. If I believe my worth depends on always succeeding, then criticism feels like condemnation. Failure becomes more than disappointing, it becomes evidence that something is wrong with me. Ironically, that often makes learning more difficult because I become busy protecting my worth rather than honestly evaluating my behavior. But something changes when we stop evaluating the self and begin evaluating our behavior within the valued roles we live. I can ask, how am I doing as a husband? How am I doing as a parent? As a therapist? As a friend? Those questions invite honesty without self-condemnation. They allow me to acknowledge mistakes, make repairs, apologize when needed, and continue growing. Notice that the goal isn't to become a better person. Your worth as a human being was never hanging in the balance. The goal is to become a better husband, a better wife, a better parent, a better therapist, a better friend, a better neighbor, by moving increasingly toward goals informed by the values you want your life to express. Once we stop defending our worth, we become freer, freer to learn, freer to listen, freer to apologize, freer to forgive, freer to repair relationships, freer to take healthy risks, freer to continue becoming. I've also found that something else begins to happen. When I stop reducing myself to my worst mistake, I become less likely to reduce you to yours. When I recognize that I am more than any single role, I begin to recognize that you are more than any role you occupy. You are never only your diagnosis, never only your greatest success, never only your greatest failure, never only the worst thing you've ever done, and neither am I. Healthy relationships aren't built by proving our worth to one another. They grow as we participate together in ways that help each of us become increasingly faithful to the values that guide our lives. As psychotherapists, I believe our work is about far more than applying techniques. Our task is to help people discover that they already possess the capacity to learn, repair, reconnect, and continue becoming. The interventions we use matter, but they matter most when they help people participate more fully in lives that are guided by values, enriched by meaningful relationships, and open to continued growth. My hope isn't that you'll simply remember this diagram. My hope is that you'll begin looking at yourself differently. The self is accepted. Roles are lived. Goals are pursued. Behavior is evaluated. Values provide direction. And together, we continue becoming. Thank you for spending this time with me. I look forward to continuing the conversation.